Today on At Your Leisure, we are going to be taking you down a backcountry road that brings you back 140 years.
This time machine follows the trail of the early pioneers as they tried to conquer the desert and settle southern Utah. It's going to be an amazing story in history.
And Steve Human will take us up the road less traveled in the Uinta Mountains.
Then, grab your notebook. Jordan Wayman is going to tell you why wintertime is going to be a lot of fun.
On the Outdoors, At Your Leisure starts now.
You know, this is one of the most beautiful trips anywhere in the desert Southwest. And I might add, it's also one of the most historic.
Well, today's the day.
That's true. Hi, everybody. Welcome to At Your Leisure. I'm Chad Booth.
And I'm Maria Rossi Booth.
And we are doing exactly what we said. We are mixing beauty and history into one trip. We are on Hole in the Rock Road, coming out of Escalante on our way towards Lake Powell and the place where the pioneers crossed. It is a story of mystery, intrigue, good luck, and maybe even a little bit of divine inspiration.
That's right. And in 2 weeks, Darren and Jill are going to be on the other side of the Hole in the Rock.
That's right. We're going to continue the series all the way down to Bluff, which was their original destination. We just have the one problem. There's an interruption called Halloween in between. But we're going to get it all done. So let's start with a little bit of the history about this remarkable journey.
I think it's the #1 settling of the West. We never have enough good examples of how to tackle life and move forward. And this is one of the top ones in my estimation. Brigham Young was settling all of the area. This was the last area in the United States to ever be surveyed.
The first part of the journey was not all of that difficult, but the closer they got to Hole in the Rock, the worse it got. It was a pretty tough journey, and especially once they got to Hole in the Rock, then they had a lot of work to do.
And going across the ground they described as not a fit for a bird to fly over. They had to dynamite and use blasting powder to get that first 40 feet widened. And so they had a man in a barrel that they would lower down and he would drill in, light the fuse, and then they'd pull him out. And their ropes were fraying. He was so heavy that they put a young boy in that, about 13, 14 years old. And he was put in that barrel, and when he would get it drilled and the fuse lit, then they could get him up out of there.
They used it for a year, and they had up and down traffic for a year, and so it was in pretty good shape.
They did that with more courage and that than most people, and they did it with a happy heart. Now that's not easy.
Alaman left with the old left hand and grab your partner. Oh, by the hand.
That's right.
You know, part of the history was that music was an important part for the pioneers. What was it what they said that Brigham Young said?
He said that they had to have joy in their heart. And so music brings joy to the soul.
So they always tried to make sure that on any wagon train party that they sent out to colonize, there were musicians as part of that group. It was almost like an official calling. You got to have an engineer, got to have a musician.
Right.
And this was a place that they took advantage of that. This is called Dance Hall Rock, and it's a place where they celebrated their journey.
Oh my gosh. You can just see it looks like a big amphitheater. There was a lot of fun over there, I betcha.
We were having a little fun out here. So we're going to get back to our dance right now. It's time for you to go on our travel adventure. Stephen Human is clear across the state in a place where the colors are usually more green, but they are catching up with the reds and yellows of fall as he takes a ride in the Uinta Mountains.
We often talk about the road less traveled, so much so that it becomes a cliche. But when you find a road like that, it's really something special. Well, that's what I want to show off to you today. I'm Stephen Heumann with At Your Leisure, and we are on an adventure just out of Camas, Utah, where pretty much the entire place is the road less traveled, and I want to show it off to you today. About 40 minutes from downtown Salt Lake City, Highway 40 branches off toward the Uinta Mountains and eventually all the way to Colorado. Right outside of Park City, however, lonely State Road 248 takes you east to Camas. Now, this area is known as the gateway to Mirror Lake and Wolf Creek Pass, but right here, out of this quiet town, you have access to amazing trails that will make your autumn one to remember.
I've lived here all my life, and my grandfather actually came up in this valley back in 1939. We've been here ever since. Back then it was a little bit more harsh environment with cold and long winters. We've loved it, and I've remained here, and I hope to remain here the rest of my life to enjoy the mountains that we're seeing here.
And Rich Weller has more opportunity than most to explore these alpine trails. As one of the owners of Weller Recreation in Camas, Rich is able to ride ATVs and side-by-sides literally right out his door, and access areas few people ever venture to explore. Today the experience is accented as the colors of October explode all around us.
It's a beautiful fall day, and the sun's nice and it's warming, the leaves are turning and they're starting to fall, but there is just a peace about being out in the mountains and enjoying nature, and we've certainly enjoyed it today. There are 50-inch trails that are in the Uinta mountain areas in some locations, but most of the trails out there, we're able to access them dirt roads. You can pick either those smooth conditions where you don't want to get jostled around a whole lot to really rocky, but the terrain will vary and the widths can vary, but most ATVs can fit on, or side-by-sides.
With the leaves evidencing the passing of the season, every turn in the trail reminds us that these routes won't be accessible for much longer, as winter will soon rear its snowy head. Camas is known for its frigid temperatures, but for some reason, that doesn't seem to bother residents one bit.
Winter in Camas is long, and that's why we have to find things to do in the winter, and a big part of that for us has been in snowmobiles. Snowmobiling is a little bit different than any of the side-by-side watercraft UTV type of riding in that it's endless. If you can see and you want to go there, you can go there. And that's what I love about snowmobiles, probably my favorite sport. If you just want to try it out for the first time, you're going to probably do Highway 150, which is the Mirror Lake corridor. That swings up around Bald Mountain and can go back down around to the Bear River service. For those who want to get off of that trail for more adventurous type of riding, then the trails are a means to get to the bowls to play in, and then from the bowls you're just going to start bushwhacking to the various locations that you want to go to.
For now though, we're content to wait for the monochromatic world of December and January in favor of the vibrancy of October. It truly is the road less traveled, and there is nowhere we'd rather be.
If you want to get outside of the norm or out of the city and you want to experience something fantastic, get to the mountains. It's a mental, physical, and an emotional high that you need, and you need it frequently.
Fall is not going to last much longer, so if you want to come up here and enjoy these fall colors, I highly suggest you get on it right now, go out this weekend. Now, if you want to learn more about these trails, whether it's now or in the winter, Weller Recreation is where you want to go. They're right there as you come into Camas, and they have all of the information. You can rent machines. It's a great opportunity if you want to explore this area. Well, I'm Stephen Heumann for At Your Leisure. We need to take a commercial break, but we'll be back with more adventure in just a minute.
The 9 to 5 here is 5 to 9. We earn our scars. We wear our work ethic. We work until the work's done. And when it is, there's a family to raise, a neighbor to check on, a country to feed. A few hours of shut-eye to rest up for tomorrow, the day will finally get something done.
look south to adventure. Look south to beauty. Look south to San Juan County. Out here, the road goes on forever, and what you'll find will change how you see the world. Climb on your OHV and discover forgotten landscapes and vistas that challenge the imagination. From Blanding and Monticello to the cliff faces of Monument Valley, we're open and ready for you to explore. San Juan County, Utah's Canyon Country.
If you believe life starts where the blacktop ends, if the power of an engine makes your heart race, don't settle for anything less than Polaris RZR, the ultimate off-road vehicle. With unequaled power, unrivaled suspension, and unmatched agility, all perfectly combined to help you chase down what matters most. Polaris RZR, we fuel your freedom.
Welcome back to At Your Leisure. I'm Jordan Wayman, and today we are at AD Triple S, and we're going to talk about the King of the Mountain, the 2018 Polaris Axis. So what's really cool about this snowmobile in particular is that this is a snow check. And what a snow check means is that the customer bought this before April 15th on tax day. It allows you to get upgraded shocks, new color, so you can have GPS on your dash now, and then you can get all your different track links, and it's totally customizable just for you. And the best part is when you snow check one of these snowmobiles, you get a 4-year warranty on it. The reason why this snowmobile is the king of the mountain is because of the weight. This is the lightest snowmobile on the market, weighing in at only 408 pounds. So let me show you how they did it. One of the main game changers is the quick belt drive. And so this makes the sled a lot lighter, and so it helps it be able to be more nimble and float right on top of the snow. This quick belt drive is unique to Polaris, and it's very lightweight. Also, it's very low maintenance. So really, this snowmobile is made to be very light and very user-friendly. From the track, to the running boards, to the motor, to the skis, this machine is made for you to have the best experience on the snow.
Polaris has what they call the most flickable sled on the market. It's got the best power to weight ratio of any sled out there. The machine itself is extremely nimble. It handles the mountain riders very well. It's purpose-built for what we do. It hasn't been that many years ago that we thought it would be really neat if we could get a sled that was actually under 500 pounds. Now they're actually getting under 400 pounds. It's just an amazing difference in agility of the sleds and how easy they are to ride. Sleds are getting better, making us a better rider, making it easier for us to get around and have fun. With this line of sleds, we've got a lot of factory accessories, everything from bags and customization packages. Here at the dealership, we also do a lot of riding, a lot of testing, a lot of tuning. It's unique to our shop. Not every shop does that, but along with that, we have packages including cans, pipes, turbos. We get into the aftermarket very heavily and can help make the sleds run and run right.
Oh yeah, just standing on this thing is getting me excited for the snow. And then, oh, whew! And this is really comfy. Sitting in this is way more comfy than sitting in a recliner at home, that's for sure. So you can pick one of these up at AD Triple S here in West Haven. This is my home shop. This is where I come to pick up all my parts, accessories, snowmobiles. So come on down here and check it out. The staff here is very knowledgeable, very friendly, and it's a lot of fun. So that's been this week's product review. I'm Jordan Wayman, and we'll be back with more At Your Leisure right after this.
Introducing the lightweight shot starter. Only on the 2018 Ski-Doo mountain sleds. With next generation engine and platform. For the unmatched power and handling to own the next ride. Ski-Doo. What matters is what's next.
Save up to $2,000 on select 2017 models, plus great financing.
We're more connected now than ever before, but are we connected in the right ways? Maybe it's time to unplug and make some real connections at Utah Family Lodges. With beautiful facilities across Utah from Bear Lake to St. George, we're the perfect destination for your next family reunion or corporate retreat. On-site activities include swimming, hiking, mountain biking, fishing, skeet shooting, lawn games, bird hunting, kayaking, canoeing, and more, guaranteeing an adventurous retreat. With a wide variety of facilities, Utah Family Lodges accommodate group sizes from 10 to 150. It's time to connect. Find out more at utahfamilylodges.com.
There's a little place on a Utah map where I was raised, where my heart's at, where the sagebrush grows wild and high, and the stars come out at night. Oh, there ain't nothing like being raised in the basin with a Ute reservation, skiing starvation, that Duchesne County life.
It's an endless sea of sandstone mounds. Welcome back to At Your Leisure. We are out here on the Hole in the Rock Road in Garfield County.
Yeah, and we are talking remote. Like, these are the most remote lands in the world. And when you're out here, you're feeling it.
That's true. And while this may be an entire landscape of nothingness from the road, if you look more closely, you'll find that they are actually filled with adventure.
Escalante, we have everything from big beautiful mountains to the Escalante River drainage to the desert. There's all kinds of landscapes here that you can go and enjoy. And you know, during the wintertime, down here on our desert, it's a great time to be here.
It is vast, big distances. It really surprises people from the east or from Europe. It's just huge, and there's wide open expanses with no trails, no landmarks, no sign of human buildings of any kind. There's a lot of Jeep areas they can get into. There's a lot of day hikes you can do that are non-technical. Certainly you can get your ropes out and play around in some of those slot canyons as well. Canyoneering actually is real simple and easy to do. You just need the right technique. But basically you're using the ropes to get down into that real pretty stuff. So a lot of the times you're looking into that beautiful red canyon, but you can't quite climb into it. You take the rope out, you build an anchor, you gently walk down the wall, and then you'll squeeze and slide through that red environment for an hour.
You can go ATVing, horseback riding. There's all kinds of things you can do.
Look at that. Rhea's got fans from Switzerland that want her autograph.
I quit the job.
Good for you.
Yeah, and I'm driving my motorcycle across America.
So when you're coming out here, folks need to have a good map and bring extra with you, water and food, in case you find someone who needs your help. You can help them. But the more a precaution you take before you get out there, the better out here.
The pioneers, they were rough and tough and rugged, and as you know, they had a stickity-to-ity, so to speak, and they stuck to it. Well, we have a lot of those same families that came through here. They're still here, and they still call this their home. They want to be here, and they want to raise their families here. And they call this home. They love it here. And this is a place we love. We want to raise our families.
As you can see, there's so much adventure, you better not just make one trip out of this, right?
Oh yeah, there's no way. I mean, these roads lead everywhere.
That's true. They go up on top of the cliff, they go out there in the Badlands, and they're all different kinds of, as you can see, activities to do. In fact, we need to start making Escalante a base for our outdoor adventure.
Honestly, you can do everything from that little town, and it is so wonderful. I love that town.
So let's rebook our little Airbnb again, right now.
We're doing it.
Okay. Well, right now it's time for us to go to our trailhead adventure. You know, every now and then, Rocky Mountain ATV MC runs across something that we really need to talk about, and this is one of them. Not all maintenance on a trail is involved in like picking up cans and cleaning the walkways. Sometimes you got to take on a major improvement project.
We definitely need a lot of help out here, and the more people that we have, the better, the easier it'll go.
We rarely think about the work that goes into keeping our trails open. Normally, we load up our machines and hit the dirt without worrying about who cleared the road of deadfall or who painted the bathrooms. Our appreciation is for the beauty instead of the logistics, and rightfully so. Today, however, the focus isn't on the fun of the trail, but rather the labor that goes into keeping it open. Outside Manti, Utah, efforts are underway not only to improve the aesthetics of some of the trailheads, but to make the trails more accessible at the same time.
Today we're out working on European Trail number 3. It's also known as the Patent Trail. We're helping out with the trailhead. We're going to be widening the trail, and it's going from a 50-inch to a 66-inch trail.
That expansion will eventually affect over 70 miles of trails on the European, opening access to more vehicles. As side-by-sides have grown in popularity over the past decade, many families have been held back on Forest Service trails by 50-inch limitations. To help open up some of those areas, officials looked at the appropriate roads and selected some for limited expansion. Today's labor wasn't all about new and improved routes, though. Time has taken its toll on facilities and fencing along the European. And while it's not a dramatic endeavor, volunteers are here to help with all of that too.
So every 5 years we go through condition surveys and we work on what needs to be replaced. Today we restained the bathroom. We replaced the fence that goes around the trailhead.
I've dug some holes in the ground so far so that they could put logs down so that they could build a fence, and helped when I've been needed.
Our main focus for this trail will be to cut back the oak brush. The oak brush tends to grow in very quickly. If you think about it, 50 inches to 66 inches, that's a 16-inch difference. If you're going down the trail, oak brush is pretty tough. It tends to whip and snaps, can cause some lacerations, and we just want people to be safe and enjoy.
The best way to preserve access to all of our mountain trails is to maintain them, maintain the access, maintain the trails when they need to be repaired, and that's how you preserve your access is through making them better.
As volunteers move up and down the trail, they also take time to pick up trash and generally improve the area, while others trim back the brush. Signs are replaced, kiosks repaired, and by the end of the day, at least this section is ready to go. It will likely take months, maybe even years, for all of the work to be completed. But as long as volunteers are willing to roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty, eventually it will be a job well done that all of us can enjoy.
I mean, it's definitely something that I'm proud of. It's something that I want to go back home and tell my parents that I've achieved today. It's nice to go out and help people and be able to do this and volunteer.
It's just a great experience to be able to come volunteer with the Forest Service and improve the trails and make it better, not only for myself, but for the community and those who like to ride.
This is a big undertaking for us. Within the state of Utah, we're probably one of the only forests that are going to 66-inch trails. There are several trails that have 60-inch, but 66-inch is kind of unheard of, really, because it is such a large undertaking. So we ask you to be patient with us. If you do come up and see what we have to offer and you have suggestions, please let us know. You know, this is public land, it's yours. Come out and enjoy it.
That enjoyment comes only after hard work, but thankfully we have groups like these willing to put in the hours. From the trailhead, I'm Joe Davis.
It's hunting season. Families come together, friends reconnect, parents include and teach their children. Make this year's hunt great with a new utility side-by-side or ATV. Steadman's Recreation has Utah's largest selection of Honda, Polaris, and Yamaha side-by-sides and ATVs. See them all at Steadman's Recreation in Tooele. Does your machine need to be tuned up? Need accessories? Steadman's Parts and Service Department can help.
Steadman's Recreation in Tooele. You may think it's 300 miles out here, but remember, it's only 30 miles back.
Crisp, colorful, a world in transition. You don't have to travel the back roads of Maine to explore autumn in all of its glory. Beaver County offers fall in unique splendor, with drives along forgotten canyons and hikes through meadows exploding with vibrant hues of red and yellow. Hit the road with your family and discover a side of Beaver County you never knew you were missing. Autumn is fleeting, so don't hesitate. Beaver County, it's time to experience the real Utah.
It's October and all the RV ads on TV are going to talk about low prices, big inventory, great interest rates. Well, all that's true at Ray City too, but that's not what we want to talk to you about. We want to talk to you about the life you will experience there when you buy an RV from Ray City. Think of how it will change the life of your family when you're up among the beautiful bright red leaves enjoying a weekend of fall camping. Race City RV, Utah's low price leader since 1946. Back to At Your Leisure. This is where the dirt road of Hole in the Rock meets the paved road of Highway 12.
Yeah, and this is where all the adventure starts.
That's right, or in our case, at the end of the day, ends.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You know, it is a great adventure. You should take plenty of time. You don't want to rush this road. It's a little bit technical. There's some things you should remember.
Yeah, I have really good tires.
That's one of them.
And probably a spare.
Yes.
Gas. And I'd say high clearance vehicle.
Yeah, you know, you can get through this in a car, but it's gonna take you all day to do it. And so if you got a high clearance vehicle, you'll be able to just move a lot better.
Yeah, and have some good water, because it's a long trip.
Well, you know what? Based on what's been happening in the news lately, it's also probably a pretty good idea to have a few extra days, you know, a couple of bags of jerky, 3 or 4 bottles of water.
Yeah.
And leave a note, not breadcrumbs, leave a note with somebody so that somebody knows where you are.
Oh, absolutely. It's only fun, really, when you come out here with somebody.
That's true. Now, it's taken us most of the day just to cover the 46 miles from here out to Hole in the Rock. And so you don't want to like scrimp on this.
No, not at all.
Leave yourself time for a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, and I'd start out early because, you know, you want to stop in between. So start early and make sure you get back for nightfall.
That's true. Well, speaking of really good stuff, Halloween's coming, and you should take a look at what we're doing next week on At Your Leisure.
Hold your loved ones close as next week, At Your Leisure takes you into the depths of fear. Chad and Rio will find haunts on the mountains, while Zach Cipriano is chased by homicidal maniacs. It's the AYL Halloween special. Be sure to watch it with the lights on.
Well, next week's show looks absolutely spooky.
Yeah, once a year, huh?
Well, some people would say every week, but we've wrapped up our day at the place we decided to stay, and we looked for a rental here in town just to do something a little bit different, accommodate us and the crew. And we ended up staying at the Hole in the Rock Inn, the totally perfect place to stay.
Yeah, I thought it was apropos, and it is an adorable little cottage. But there's also other places in town that you can, hotels, little places. It's just, this town is so quaint, it's wonderful.
Well, we have proven once again that there's adventure around every single bend.
You just got to get out there and create your own adventure.
At your leisure. You know, I wonder if they'd let us stay an extra
Please,
day.
please,
We
please.
can send the crew home. Then grab your notepads because Stephen Human, three. Then grab your notebook. Stop looking at me. 3, 2, 1.